I wrote something. I don't know how that's going to play. We recorded this episode in two parts, and neither part has my regular co host, Jason Ackerman. I've got a sub in today, Zachary Call, who's awesome. He was on our third episode. And I don't have a co host on the other part. It's just me and Lorilyn. I think you'll enjoy it, but they were recorded 2 months apart. The first one, Lorilyn's on a laptop mic, and the volume isn't the best. And the second one, she has a real mic, and I sound bad. I don't know if my gain's all the way up. Whatever. Here goes. This is a show. It's not about the perfect podcast audio. It does help, but it's about changing the accounting industry from within. Subscribe, and should you feel so inspired to leave us a 5-star review, we may even read it on air so you can hear you and we can show you support us. In turn, we can continue questioning the industry with awesome people in this space. This episode, we have Lorilyn Wilson, who has over 4,000 followers on Twitter. She is one of the top 50 women in accounting, according to Practice Ignition, who also might be our first paid sponsor. More on that later. Lorilyn has recently joined Liz Mason at High Rock in her Nucleus program. Sorry to make this sound so crude. Here's a clip from our second episode, and then a clip from this episode immediately following.
Think about a Venn diagram, like where things overlap. That's your vagina of amazingness. And I want everyone focusing on being in their vagina of amazing.
Don't put this in it, but it's like big dick energy. Anyone can have big dick energy.
Don't put this
Same
in it, and
idea.
I'm going to have to put it in now.
So if I heard that right, Lorilyn's big dick energy is overlapping with Liz's vagina of amazingness? Okay, I got it. The dynamic duo, the perfect pair. It's poetic. More on that later. Ladies and gentlemen, please sit back and enjoy the show. You'll laugh. You won't cry. You might learn a thing or two. Cheers. Hello and welcome. We are all the Sons of CPAs. Join us as we question the current state of the accounting and tax industry with the next generation of professionals leading this space. We are all the change agents in an industry fraught with money and inertia. Let's begin the Sons of CPAs with your hosts, Zachary Call and Scott Scarano, and our very special guest today,
With Lorilyn Wilson and our very special guest host, Mr. Zachary Call, another son of a CPA.
That's right. Happy to be here. I'm in Salt Lake City, Utah, the mouth of Little Conlin Canyon.
I've been watching High School Musical with my daughter
Yeah.
all weekend, and it was great. I loved it. Can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name's Lorilyn. I am based out of Portland, Oregon. I'm an entrepreneur who happens to be a CPA. I was part owner in one for 3 years, and then early February sold my shares, ventured off on my own. At this point, I'm involved in several startups, none that are specific to right now working really directly with clients at all. Sometimes I'll pick up projects here and there if I'm looking for a little extra cash, but more often than not, most work that's coming my way for client work, I've just been passing along so I can focus on these other businesses that I'm building.
I've got a laundry list of businesses that you are building. This is exciting.
Yeah.
I don't even know where to start, honestly. We should start with your start. Lead us to your rise and ascension to the throne.
Yes, yeah. Came out of college, poli-sci degree, had never taken an accounting course at all. Worked some admin jobs for a couple years. It was just very boring work, lots of sitting around. Felt like I was wasting my time. And so I wanted to go back to school to do something. So I looked at going back. My dad's a doctor, so I looked to go back maybe and do something in the medical field. But the problem was had never taken a prereq for that. So I'd pretty much have to go back completely into college, redo all of undergrad almost, and then med school, then residency. And that's a long, expensive journey. So decided against that. Had no interest at all in law. I'd done the poli-sci major, and the law classes were excruciatingly boring. So I was talking at the time to my ex's sister-in-law, and I was asking her, "What do you do?" And she's, "I'm a CPA." And I was like, "What's that?" And I was like 26 at this time. She's like, "Oh, I'm a certified accountant." And she works as an internal auditor for a large insurance company. But I had graduated college in 07. So this was right before the financial crisis happened. So I was definitely looking for a career that would be recession proof. So once she told me about that and I did some research on it, I was like, this seems like a really good option. It seems like I could do a ton of stuff with this. And then the requirements to go back and get the credits I needed, it was only a couple terms at a community college and then 3 terms in a post-baccalaureate program. Then I could sit for the exam. It was minimal time, minimal cost. And I was like, okay, gonna go be a CPA. I didn't know anything about accounting.
We are the sons of CPAs and daughters of doctors. Sons of CPAs, daughters of doctors. And you didn't go into medical.
Originally, I remember I grew up at the dinner table hearing all sorts of ER stories. And the reason why I chose not to go into medical is because I remember my dad saying at one point that you'd have to, in med school, work on cadavers. And that totally freaked me out as a 13-year-old hearing that. And I'm like, I am not going to be a doctor. And actually now looking back, I probably would have been fine with it. But that was the main reason. And then too, actually, my dad was pretty funny. He was very discouraging of going into the medical industry. He's just, it's a lot of time. It's a lot of money. Don't do it. So he was not at all encouraging down that path.
So from high school to college, tell us a little bit about that though.
So earlier on, I was really big into softball. And that's what I spent all my time doing from about 6th grade on. Turns out I had a knack for pitching. I'm a very tall, long person, and I picked up the softball, started lessons, and within a couple lessons, my pitching coach is like, if you stick with this, and I was 12 at the time, he's like, if you stick with this and you practice hard, you will get a full ride to college. So I was like, okay, sounds good. And yeah, from then on out, though, that's just kind of what I dedicated all my time to, is I just played softball. And I loved doing it. No one was pressuring me to do it because I was good at it. So it's fun to go out and win always. And I had very supportive parents in that. And then I ended up getting a full ride to college to go play at Michigan. And I got some offers from Oregon schools too, Oregon State, U of O, but I figured if it's going to be free.
Wolverines,
free,
right?
Yes. Yeah. And too, they had one of the top 20 programs consistently year on year. We're in the World Series. This seems like a fun opportunity. I don't want to stay and say, I'm going to leave the nest, fly east for a couple years and have some fun over there.
Yeah. And then did you actually play softball there? How did you do there?
Yeah. I feel like
you're trying to dance around it, but you are a national champion. Can we just at least say you got a ring?
Yes. Yeah. So my sophomore year, we won the national championship, which was very cool because we were the first team east of the Mississippi to do that. No softball team east of the Mississippi had won a national championship. It had been, back then it was the Pac-10, now it's the Pac-12, but the Pac-10 pretty much ruled it. They would win almost every year. The only other non-Pac-10 team to even win before us was Oklahoma in 2000. Interestingly, what was happening at the exact same time, the NHL playoffs usually happen around the time our World Series does, but that year they were on strike for something. And so women's softball ended up getting a ton of prime ESPN coverage. And so it really got popular that year with kind of normal viewers who are like, oh, this is cool. And then too, it was funny because we were considered the underdog because UCLA had won it the prior 2 years and they were going for their third win in a row. But we actually weren't the underdog because we were ranked number 1 all year.
So let's see something here. You come from west of the Mississippi. You travel
Oregon.
East of the Mississippi, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. From Oregon, travel east of the Mississippi, and then they win their first national championship. Yeah. Is that right? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Sounds
and
about
you know
right.
what? And I felt going there, that was going to be the school I had the best chance to do that at. Because that was one of my goals. I wanted to win a national championship, but I felt like that program was the best positioned and primed to do it.
So you tee up your goals and you knock them down.
Pretty much, yes.
Do you still do anything with softball today?
You know what? I did private lessons. I coached teams for 7 years after I'd graduated college up until I was 29. And then
when I was Coach Wilson.
2 different high school teams, and I coached 2 different summer teams too, and consistently gave private pitching lessons those 7 years. But then by the time I was 29, I was at that point working full time, doing accounting, and then lessons you'd have to go and do at night. And I was pregnant with my second child, and I was just like, something has to give. I can't do this all. I can't be gone all the time. I'm exhausted. And so it felt like it was time to move on from softball and really kick in with my accounting.
So then you go to Pearson Advisory?
Yeah, so he was actually, Kyle is his name, Kyle Pearson. Kyle's married to one of my best friends from high school. And so the year prior to that, so this was early 2013, I started work at my first firm I was at, incredibly toxic. It was a horrible experience, but I started work there. And Kyle reached out to me at that time and said, hey, I'm starting a firm. Do you want to come work with me? And I was like, oh, I just started at this other firm. I'd feel bad bouncing after being here a month. Thanks, but no thanks. And 10 months later, I reached back out to him and I was just like, hey, anyone hiring? And he's, me, come work with me. So I was like, okay. So then I went to work for him in fall of 2014 was when I joined. And I was the third. He had one other CPA. Then at that time, I wasn't even a CPA, but I was the second person. There were just three of us.
So it's a small firm. What did they specialize in?
He was one of those earlier adopters of that whole payroll accounting tax cycle. So having people in at that fixed monthly fee, doing all that for them, but those small businesses. And then during tax time, you'd have the influx of some individuals too. But it was very much an outsourced accounting firm model.
Outsourced accounting that also provides tax. So give that whole under one roof solution for a business. Yeah. And how many people were there when you left?
If we include, because we had a couple Philippine workers, there were 8 of us when I left. Mm-hmm.
Cool. All right. So one thing I noticed in your trend is you've always surrounded yourself with people, with sports, with coaching, with that kind of stuff. And now I guess we can get into the due north aspect of this. But it sounds like a lot of it is the Oz behind the scenes now. You're the behind the curtain, pulling all the strings.
Yeah. So when I separated from, it was Pearson Advisory. We'd rebranded as Collective while I was there. But I really wanted to not do the same stuff we were doing there. I had no interest in doing client accounting work like we were. I had no interest in getting anywhere close to payroll. I had no interest in doing tax. So I've been doing some consulting. Oh, you want to talk about your real estate transactions and how that affects your taxes? Cool, let's set up an hour call. Then it just kind of serendipitously happened February, March, after I went on my own, that these other opportunities started popping up that were more interesting to me than just doing more accounting in a different way. That's why I started. And 2 of them still fall in the accounting sphere, but it's not that CAS work that I'd been doing prior. Because it's just, I felt like we built the model, I figured out the model, figured out how to make the model profitable. Okay, that puzzle's solved. I want to go solve a new puzzle, is the best way I could describe it. I was just bored in my work.
Yeah.
Can you relate, Scott?
I think so, a little bit. I have a quote here. You said accounting in a different way. Accounting in a different way. That was cool.
I think that's a good segue into talking about some of the new things that you've got going on and what those businesses mean to you and why you started them. You are co-founder of Luco. Am I pronouncing that right?
And is that the ed tech startup?
Yes. If I could put it into one sentence, it's an enterprise asynchronous learning platform. A lot of the e-learning platforms out there right now are one directional. You can only learn one way. This has the technology for better back and forth learning. Naturally, where that fits in is fitness, sports world. Let's say I am a softball instructor. I'm in Oregon. I was a really good pitcher. A girl in New Jersey wants to take softball lessons from me. What's the technology that can actually enable that? And what does that technology need to do? Then in addition to that, how can the technology be built so I could actually scale my business into a much bigger business? So that's the premise. And the guy who founded it, he's a Silicon Valley veteran, trying to find things that are interesting and fun to him. And after seeing his kids in online school, he's like, this learning style doesn't work. And so he was the one who started conceptualizing it and then brought me on as the build started to happen.
This seems like a very good fit too. For some people that are very good with people, they tend to be a lot more disorganized in the way that they need somebody to keep them organized. It seems like this is a good way for somebody to transition their skill set into something they can make money on.
Yes, exactly. And that was in the, if you go to the website and watch the little video, that's exactly what the little video talks about, is taking your passion and creating a scalable business with it.
I will include a video in the show link.
Fun fact, my very best friend in the world, who was also a Michigan softball player, she wrote the script for that video. She's now a creative director at a marketing agency. So
I don't think that she's the one who read it, though. I think if she wrote the script, somebody else must have read it.
Yes.
Otherwise, she has a really deep voice.
Yeah, no, the fun fact, the guy who actually did the voiceover on that is the voice of Delta Airlines.
So cool. So when I fly, I can play that and play next to the person sitting next to me?
Yes.
Yeah.
So right now, is Aluco primarily towards coaching and that sort of stuff, or do you see it creeping into the business world where you can maybe monetize mentoring? Let's say you're an older CPA and you want to mentor a younger CPA, something like that. Do you see it that way, or?
Ooh, that's
Yes, right now where we're at, we're still in finishing up development of it, still doing some initial raises. We're right now onboarding the second customer. So a lot of the first build was customized to the first customer who's in the fitness. It's, basically a virtual gym. So fitness industry vertical. And then I got in contact with the second one, which is actually a baseball softball. So natural, and it's so close to what the gym does. That's not a huge delta from them. But then we're talking, okay, how else could you do it?
So we've got a competitive athlete that becomes a national championship, that becomes a coach, that becomes a CPA, that then now creates a collective, or that went to collective. I don't know. I'm just going with the C. And then we've got call center too. There's another two C's.
Oh, that's just like a fun side project. We're just still playing with that. I don't know what's going to happen with that. That's not one of my big ones though.
What's this one?
It's not one of the I have the big three I'm working on right now. That's just like a
Stick
side.
to three. Stick to
Yeah,
three.
stick to
Stick to
Yeah.
the big three.
the big three. I'm like, I can only flip my focus so many different directions right now.
Right, we'll take another C in here and we'll go creative. So you're a
Okay, which
creative.
one's this? Yes.
Can Oluco be for creatives too?
Oh, it totally could. When they were thinking about who these, other customers or who would come on, who'd they be really good. And part of how the model works is you have to have a following established for it to make sense. But if you're a makeup artist, if you're a photographer, if you're something like that, and you want to interact with your community at volume, which you can't easily through Instagram or YouTube, this is the platform to do that, because you can take your community and put it behind a paywall, essentially. Because what your community can do also is interact on this platform with each other. So it's creating a closed, troll-free community on a subscription model.
So take them off of OnlyFans and put them on Oluco.
Exactly. And we won't take as much as OnlyFans does.
Yeah, but they also might not make as much as OnlyFans does too. We'll see in the long term. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about the next business you've got going right now.
It's a platform that trains advisors to do forecasting and also provides the engagements and the clients for that. So that's in essence what it is. It's a way to train and feed work to advisors. An advisor can be CPA, it can be an accountant, it can be a lot of different things. It can be CFOs, it can be MBAs, but that's like succinctly what that is.
It sounds like a tie-in to Oluco too, a little bit.
Yes, it was funny. I was actually jumped on a call with Scott, the founder of Oluco, and I told my other business partner, I was like, we have to build an app for this. There's going to need to be an app that we can do this. And I was talking to the Oluco founder about it, and I think it would be good if you built your app on the Salesforce platform, is what he said. He goes, I think it's a little more tailored to that, because part of what we need is a pretty extensive if-then algorithm because what we're going to have is we're going to have these essentially clients coming in who need advisory services. So how do we determine which advisor gets these engagements as they come in? And once they turn it all the way up and have the clients fully throwing in, this could be 30, 70, 100 a day coming in. So we would need a really robust system to be able to handle that volume and disseminate them in a way that the advisors can quickly decide, swipe left, swipe right. Yes, I want this engagement. No, I don't want this engagement.
So you're building it to scale though. You're building it to scale for the future.
Yeah, and maybe if someday Intuit comes in and wants to buy it for $400 million, we'll have that conversation. But
well, and that's a lead into Live Plan. That sounds like another platform that you could use for something like this.
Yeah, and that's our first kind of company, or fintech company we're going to be working with in that capacity of, okay, we're going to be using your software, and you are going to be on your platform advertising these advisory services, and then we are going to perform these advisory services to the people who come through your platform.
With trained individuals.
Yes. And, within the app, once it gets built, it'll be a very robust app that has a lot of trainings and educational resources and help as people are doing these advising engagements.
And what's the name of this?
It's going to be called Look Ahead.
Look Ahead.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to look ahead a little bit, and in about a year, we'll come back and revisit where everything is. I'm inserting that right now to make sure that I hold myself to task. It sounds like everything you're doing is trying to help the community. And one little tagline for this is the change agents of the industry. So I feel like you're definitely one of the change agents within the industry, trying to change it from the inside out.
Yes, that's a really good way to put it. I'm really passionate about nothing annoys me more than when you ask, why do we do it this way? And people are like, this is just how it's done. This is how we always do it. And this idea that we have to be static and we can't grow and service clients in different ways. And so I like to become a part of things that disrupt that of, okay, we've always done it this way. We've always done coaching this way. We've always done advising this way. Well, what if we did it a different way? Maybe this creates more work-life balance in these people's lives. I would say the overarching theme is probably more freedom. I'm really passionate about giving people freedom in their work. If you're an adult, you should not have to ask another adult for permission to do something. Like, hey, I have a doctor's appointment. Is it okay if I miss work to go to a doctor's appointment? So every venture I'm in is trying to help remove people from that atmosphere so they do have that freedom to do what they want. Because I feel like once you get a taste of it, it's intoxicating.
So in the context of, let's say, a firm owner is now rethinking the way they do things because they've always done it the same way, and now they want to rethink how they're doing it. What could they do to change it? What do you have to offer somebody like that?
Let's rephrase it. Sometimes we have to interpret for Scott.
Yeah. Can you interpret that one, Zach?
The original host is Ackerman, and he does a great job of interpreting Scott. I'm not as good as Ackerman, but I will attempt. Over your experiences that you've had at Pearson and as an owner at your new company and as a coach and a softball player, what would you tell an accounting owner of today or somebody who's working in the accounting industry about how they can better serve their clients and look at this industry?
That's a really great question. You know what? My first thing to say is to make sure, because I don't think you're truly going to serve your clients well unless you're happy and fulfilled in what you're doing. So actually the first piece of advice would be to make sure you enjoy what you're doing. Because the people who enjoy what they're doing are going to be excited to work with clients, and the clients are going to, and they're going to serve their clients better than anyone else. I know burnout in the accounting industry is very real, and accountants are very nice people, and I think they will overextend themselves and bend over backwards a lot. As a result, they will sacrifice their family life and their quality of life, their health, to get tax forms filed on time, or to get this payroll ran on time, or to get these books updated on time. And I think it's really hard for a lot of them to step back and assert their needs first. So that would be the very first thing I would say is, do you actually enjoy what you're doing? And are you living your best life? Have you built your ideal firm? What can you change? Talk to other people in the industry. Community is incredibly important, and just see what they're doing and how they're doing it. Because it's a very open, supportive community. We're more than open to sharing what we've done and how we got there and the tech we used to get there and the mistakes we've learned along the way.
It's almost like it's a collective of accountants.
Yep. Yep.
No pun intended.
I think you bring up a really great point about the community of accountants. And I know for me and my firm, that has made a massive difference to have a community of peers that I interact with on a regular basis. And it's just a place to vent, to laugh, to share our experiences, to learn from one another. It just makes a massive difference in you deciding what you want in a firm. You mentioned the ideal firm. Like, sometimes you get so caught up in the work that you forget to stand back and look around yourself and say, what am I actually doing here? What am I building? What do I want this to look like? And how am I going to get? And so for you, you were in this partnership. You were a partner at Pearson Advisory, and you just sat back and said, this isn't quite what I want to do. You felt like you've tackled this, and you made that step outside and started doing some new things on a new journey. Was that scary for you? Was it a big step? How did you get the courage to do that?
Yeah, well, so what's so funny is my business partner, and I'm good friends with him, and I've known him since we were 18. So I've known him a very long time, 18 years at this point, because they're about 36. And about every 6 months, he would ask me, do you want to own an accounting firm? Do you enjoy doing this? I enjoy the opportunities that are created as a result. And so he was the one that actually initiated the conversation. I can see where your interests are. I really want to make sure all my resources and the people who are part of Collective are building that and building toward that, because a lot of the things I wanted to do or things I wanted to add were just not directly related to our core offering. And he's like, how about I just buy you out and you go do what you want to do? And at that point I was just like, okay, like this is literally someone's handing me my dream on a platter, being like, here's a buyout, take some money and go do what you actually want to do. So it was like, at that point I was just like, okay, I'm gonna go do it. And part of the reason though I wasn't afraid to do that is I have built over the years such a strong network in the accounting community. So I wasn't alone. Even though I was alone, I was not alone. And I knew at any moment if I wanted to go pick up work or go start working with someone else, I could easily do that because of this network that I've cultivated and invested in for years and years.
Can we call him right now and thank him for that? That sounds so generous and so nice of him to do that. He changed your life a little bit there.
Yeah, and honestly, like what's funny is it was 2017 during tax season, I got eczema on my hands. And it was a result of the stress. And then it can be exacerbated by things you have in your diet. But basically, the trigger is stress. This is the first year, it's all gone. It's all gone. So it's so funny because from a financial standpoint, I'm on more unstable ground than ever, because it's literally like whatever I decide to do today, I will or will not make money. But it's because I actually feel like I'm outliving my purpose and pursuing my passion, my stress is gone around it, because I feel like I'm just out there doing what I'm supposed to do and not what someone else wants me to do.
That's very interesting. My brother also has eczema and so many different treatments. He got it really bad. And now this past year, he got married. He doesn't have eczema. What's the correlation? Like all types of medicine and all of a sudden he gets married, no eczema.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no,
You don't know. Mental health is my bullet here. The big bullet is mental health. Not a question, but I got to get it off my chest. I've been taking Klonopin for 13 years, 15 years. I stopped taking it altogether, flushed all of it about 2 weeks ago. It's a very hard 2 weeks. It's been very difficult. I've not been able to sleep much. I haven't been a little tricky. I don't know where the correlation is, but after ridding that, it's almost like you get a nice big sense of clarity, bunch of energy, and it's been a long process to get to the point where I could stop taking it.
Yeah, yes, no, but there's definitely the time, because the tie-in is like your physical and your mental health they're tied tightly together, and one affects the other. And you don't always realize how that's happening, because it does a lot of mental stuff will manifest physically. And then that's been for me figuring out, especially in regards to my mood, because I get very bad seasonal depression, very bad. And so it's figuring
What's seasonal depression?
Seasonal depression is, so biologically what's actually happening is, so there's this chemical reaction that happens and I can't remember all the chemicals involved, but you have a chemical and then it's daytime and it changes to serotonin. And then as it starts to get nighttime and it gets darker, then it changes to melatonin. And that's what happens. For people who get seasonal depression, when it's darker outside, and like here in Oregon, it's very overcast. It has nothing to do with the temperature. It's all about the sun. Is that the transition from the serotonin to the melatonin happens too fast. And so you're overproducing melatonin. So you're feeling really down and really tired and really bummed out.
So yesterday was Father's Day. For anybody listening, this might come out in December. I don't know when. But so yesterday's Father's Day, and probably the first day since I stopped taking that medication, it was not sunny out yesterday. It was overcast. It was like raining all day. And I had a shitty day. It was the worst. I was angry at everybody. I was I thought it stopped raining, and we go outside to go to my parents' house, and my son runs inside fully wet. He goes in through the front door and then climbs over, and I'm screaming at him. I'm cursing at him. I don't even know why. I was so upset, and I shouldn't have gotten angry. Obviously, I shouldn't have got angry, and I got upset. But at the same time, I told my wife, I said, this has something to do with the sun.
It does. It does. It's real. Like I read this really funny meme. It was like, or it was a Twitter post someone did. They're like, you don't think seasonal depression's not real until it's the first sunny day in March and it feels like you popped an ecstasy pill. Like that's what, and I was like, that's what you just get this high the first like nice summery sunny day. And I know you can take vitamin D, and that I know if I take vitamin D consistently that helps. But I'm like, for me, I'm like, I don't want to take pills to feel good. I just want to be in an environment where I feel good because all the kind of those factors are correct. So one of the things I'm actively working on is getting some type of place in Scottsdale. So during the cold, rainy months, I can go down there a week, a month, and just
Oh,
recharge.
Scottsdale.
Yes, and just recharge because it makes such a difference for me. That's what I want to do to be healthy. I don't want to pop vitamin D pills every single day. I just want to be in the sun because that's actually what my body wants.
So I think we're hitting on a really important point for most accountants in the industry and the people who would listen to this podcast, which is you have to take time for yourself. So what are your hobbies, Lorilyn? What else do you enjoy doing in your free time, and how do you create balance in your life?
Yeah. What was so funny was pre-COVID, I had this idea that I just wasn't that social. I'm just not that social. And then now I've realized, oh my gosh, I'm incredibly social. So I have a bunch of trips planned. I love going, traveling and visiting and seeing people. That's a big one. To traveling because I'm divorced from my ex-husband. So every other week I'm off from my kids. So it's okay, free week. And I can work from anywhere. So I'm like, wait, I can work from anywhere and then I don't have to be in town half the time. Let's go travel. Let's go see people, especially from going to college out of state. A lot of my really good friends just don't live in the area. So it's great to go do that. When I have my kids, our absolute favorite thing to do is to go down to the river. I live in a really nice apartment complex that's right on the river, and we have our own little private beach. And we just go down to the beach every day and play in the sand and play in the water. And it's amazing. Lots of that with the kids, lots of that. And then I love reading. I'm a book nerd, specifically fantasy. I love fantasy, magic, wizards, all of it. Oh, I love it. I love it. But then, yeah, honestly, since COVID, I've made, especially with my female friends, I've really made seeing people and hanging out with them a huge priority. So I do spend a lot of my time just having fun with people, eating together, drinking together, being on the beach together.
It's funny. I love people. I love people, but I'm very antisocial sometimes. Or very just get in my shell and then don't come out until you talk to me or until you say something nice, and then I'll come out and all of a sudden I'm happy again. It's, oh, nobody likes me, and I'll go in my shell, and then all of a sudden somebody calls me up and I'm in a better mood. What's up with that?
Yeah, well, I call myself an outgoing introvert because I still like my recharge time by myself. But like I said, I really have realized oh my gosh, I am desperate for, especially really strong, intelligent females. Those are my people I can connect with and just love spending time.
That's a good segue. You were named one of the top 50 women in accounting by Practice Ignition.
Yes. I don't know how I squeaked on there, but I'll take it.
Why did you laugh when he said it? Why did you laugh? I think that's awesome. That's a good honor.
I love it. It's funny because I know I am not the best technical accountant. I don't know the tax code more than anyone. I'm none of those things, but I think what people appreciate is authenticity. And I am always authentic, and I'm just out there being myself, being silly, having fun, and providing smiles out in the accounting community. And I know just people really appreciate that, but I think it just goes to show that's important too. It's important to have fun. I would always get in trouble in college because the coaches never felt I was serious enough. And I'm just I don't take anything too seriously. I don't.
Do you think it was taking away from the people that needed to be serious? Because you don't really need to be serious, and you know that. I know that, but some people don't. And then some people think if they're fucking around or messing around, then everything crumbles.
Yes. Yeah. And it was oh, we just lost a game. Oh, you're not mad enough. We just lost. You're smiling and laughing too soon after a loss. And I'm just the type of person where I just dust myself off and keep going. Because what's the point of, not doing that?
The only thing you can do is learn from it. That's the only thing you do is learn from it to improve later, but you can't harp on it, and you can't, whip somebody just for screwing something up.
I guess I just don't take life too seriously. It's too short. I'm not out here trying. And here's the thing, people relate to that. They do. People don't like fake. People gravitate toward authenticity. And so that's why I can connect so well in the community. Not because I'm some tax expert. I'm not. There's a lot of them out there and they're awesome. But I'm you know what? I know what I bring to the table and I know what I'm good at. And that's what I'm going to focus on.
We can't see your face, but people do a pretty face too. And that
I got a facial earlier. It's not so pretty right now.
Again, we can't see you. But at the same time, I think that does resonate with some people that, okay, somebody that's down to earth and isn't all stuck on their self. That's actually very refreshing.
Yeah. I'm just out here being goofy, being friends with everyone, especially at accounting conferences. I freaking love those because you make like 1,000 new friends. That's amazing to me.
Yeah, great ones.
If you look ahead 10 years from now, where do you see yourself?
So by then, my 3 companies I'm working on bought and sold at that point.
Okay.
Hopefully, I want to eventually transition some, just because I worked heavily in real estate and tax. So I would actually like to start when I'm selling all these companies and making all this money, start a real estate empire, specifically multifamily housing, like apartment complexes, because those are what cash flow. Let me tell you,
That's where you
that's where
make some money. Yeah.
that's where the money is. But I'm just gonna never stop though, in terms of as soon as I build businesses, figure it out, sell them, I'm just gonna go do it again, probably then in another industry, just because it's fun for me. It's like a puzzle. I like trying to solve puzzles. That's what makes me excited to wake up in the morning.
You can carry those mistakes that you made along the way with you and learn from
Yeah,
all of them. Instead of getting
totally,
whipped, you whip other people into shape and get
totally.
things right and leave and let the money come in passively.
Yeah. So yeah, I will nonstop be building and selling businesses.
Can you talk about digital assets? I want to learn a little bit more about that.
Yes,
Zachary, do you
and
know anything about digital assets?
Are we talking about NFTs or?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. Lorilyn, maybe I should.
think of
Yeah.
digital assets as, obviously, with the advent of online learning, digital assets are ways you can sell your knowledge, basically. And I haven't seen it done too much in the accounting industry, and I want to prove it out. But basically, what it is, it's what you find. We all find that clients ask you the same stuff over and over and over and over again. There's only so many, 90% of what clients ask you, you've been asked before. And so it's like, okay, how do you take that knowledge, package it up, and then sell it essentially to a wider audience? And so you're no longer working by the hour, or you're able to create income irrelevant of time.
So what I see there is a person just starting out, they can buy a set of FAQs, a big set of FAQs that are very personalized and very much for them. And I don't even know if that's it, but it's just.
It could be anything though you wanted it to be. Like it could be like, if I wanted to, okay, we used Asana. I have these templates in Asana that we use that had a really good bookkeeping workflow that we spent years to develop. Let's sell that. Or, hey, I know clients keep asking about how to set up a QBO. I'm going to create a 2-hour course and sell that course for them to. And so it's just removing yourself from the time to teach someone else.
Or here's
something.
a booklet of great proposals to use in PI. Here's all of these proposals for you to download and upload to your PI.
Yep. Exactly. Stuff like that. Exactly. Here's how we price all of our services. Here's our menu. Here's how you can do that too. It's
normalize the industry too, almost. It normalized the new. Yeah.
Yes, and it's endless. And especially too, I know there's certain communities that are really tech forward. This is how you use bots. Me as someone, I don't want to figure that out, but if someone's like packages it up and here's how to use bots for your business, use this stuff and do that, then I would of course spend $2,000 and buy that.
What's a bot?
You know? A bot, it's like little things you can do to automatically do tasks within your business. Like I've seen people do bots to like go through the QBO ledger and add stuff from the bank feeds and simple things like that. Or if incoming messages come in, bots do certain things with them and whatnot. But I don't even know. See, I don't have the time. I don't have the time to learn it. But
if it contains a certain word, then it's related to this. No, that sounds so cool. Like it's basically algorithms that are running in the background to then create something on the front end, which makes it a lot easier for anybody. The digital asset. Yeah.
Yes, but tech is moving so fast. It's no accountant has time to keep up with all of it. So it just makes sense to crowdsource it and people to sell their knowledge. To me, that makes sense. Because again, I know how long it would take me to figure something else. I would gladly pay $2,000, $5,000 for something.
This is being done right now in the industry. It's just not super common. It's still young, and there's a huge opportunity here. I agree. Massive opportunity.
Yeah, normalize it, because otherwise we keep having everyone trying to reinvent the wheel over and over again, and everyone's reinventing their own wheel. It was so funny. One of my business partner would look ahead. He keeps trying to ask me how much accountants charge for things, and I think he's ready to rip off my head because I'm like, it depends. I'm like, there is no consistent pricing against across any accountant. Everyone's different. Even if you are in one city and you go 30 miles outside of a suburb, there's too many variables. I'm like, I can't tell you. I can't tell you
it's almost what do you price yourself, and how do you want to price things is what I would recommend for anybody for pricing, because whatever you're comfortable with in your lifestyle, then that's how you should price. If you live a expensive lifestyle, you should price things expensively. And if you don't,
Yeah.
then price them cheaper. You know, it should reflect you almost.
Yeah. Yeah. There's no right or wrong answer. So,
I had a client that was looking for a new accountant the other day, and they were with an accountant who was retiring, and he was
oh
still
no.
$200 for an individual tax return.
No wonder he's retiring.
So on the high end, you're as high as they get, aren't you? Like $1,500 a return for a base return,
Something like that. But again, it's not because we're trying to overcharge people, but we're trying to take away a lot of the individual tax work and low margin work, because a lot of those, it's great to take it on, it's great to do the work, but then it's almost like we're wearing that work as a badge of honor, and we're going to keep doing it, and then they're going to come to us with IRS letters and things to deal with, and it's just a massive, but there's a lot of money to be made in that part of the industry too, and I respect it totally, but that's also why I tell potential clients, like, our prices are way too high for you, but there's plenty of places you can go to get quality service for a better price. And I don't think anybody's wrong in that either.
I think where CPAs can get in trouble is if they charge too little, they really are probably not doing a good enough job for their clients, because they're rushing through things, making
It's a volume
assumptions.
game.
Yeah, not asking the right questions, not taking the time to understand what's going on in their life, and missing out on opportunities to help them plan or pay the least amount of tax that they would need to. It's a balancing act for sure. I'm not like Scott. Scott gets the majority of his revenue from just his accounting, ongoing monthly recurring revenue, and we come from the traditional tax realm where we still, even to this day, we're probably 60% of our gross revenue is just going to be tax work alone.
It's actually a respectable balance, though. I would think it would have been a lot more.
Yeah, considering 10 years ago it was 100%. Yeah.
Wow. No, that's impressive. Are you working to get that lower, or?
Yeah, I don't know where it'll ultimately land. Speaking to Lorilyn's viewpoint, she's always wanted to build something that allows her to live her own dream. And I love that concept. I'm never going to have the biggest firm here. I'm never going to do the most clients or be the end all best at cloud accounting or tax work. But I want to build a lifestyle firm, one that I can live my life. I can spend time with family. I can do the things that I love to do. And I can serve people in ways that they can't serve themselves and add value to them. And so it's a balance. And you want to make money, but you also, money doesn't solve all of the world's problems. It's not the end goal for me.
It's about money until it's not.
I had a client who came to me last fall, and she was we met in like mid-August, so she was going to have her prior tax preparer just do the corporate return because he already had all her stuff. And do you remember, was it FF? It was one of the tax programs went down on September 15th last year. Was that
the e-file went down?
Yes.
For a lot of Intuit's products. I was on Lacert, it went down, but all of Intuit's e-file. So whether you were on Connect or you were on Lacert or anything, it was all down.
Yeah, so he was on whatever that program was, and on September 15th had a heart attack and died.
Oh my word.
Yep. That to me is the biggest testament. Like, your life is not worth filing tax returns. The type of thing, like, that person, there was probably not a very good work-life balance happening if that's the end result of. But she told me that, and I was like, yeah, it goes to show why I hate that thing. That's why I hate our industry, something about our industry that it needs to change. And it's just, people need to be shown that it can change and it can work. And for accountants, it's the numbers pencil. Ultimately, look, you can do this and you still make money. Look.
Yeah.
It's an industry fraught with money and inertia. It's almost like you need a generation to die out before we can really change things. Even then, you're going to have people that ascend to the throne in the same old-fashioned way of doing things because there's so much money there and there's no incentive for them to change.
Yeah, absolutely. Until this is the problem, though, as these older firms, as these people want to retire, who's going to want to buy a practice? that it still has a paper filing system and still undercharges all their clients and still is not using online filing software or online prep software. And I'm just like, what's that firm worth anymore?
Now that those firms got propped up by COVID and all of them think they're, learning how to do things digitally, that's also a fake prop too for a lot of them. Oh yeah, we can do things digitally. Here, we'll meet you, but then we're going to go pick up all your stuff because we can meet you digitally, but now we got to go pick up your papers and take them back.
And oh my gosh, if you were buying a firm like that, just the cost to get everyone onto your systems, I don't think it'd be worth it. Those clients are going to be worth pennies on the dollar when they go to sell, because it's going to be so much work. It's going to be cheaper for you to keep building your own client base than to absorb someone else's firm.
But the sad thing is those clients could be great clients too, and they'll go somewhere else because they don't have to stay with that firm. And they could go somewhere else and they could adapt. A lot of clients are very easily adapt if they start off on the right foot and they learn how they're just trying to run their business and then have you assist and help them. And if you've created a great product, you can repackage it somewhere else, or they can turn around and go somewhere else. And I like that you do it without people too. A lot of what you're doing is you love people, you surround yourself with people, but you're not doing it with anybody. You don't have staff. You don't have a team per se. I try to not use the word staff. You don't have a team with you. And actually, I like working. How I like working is alongside people, not above people, if that makes sense. So I like working with strategic partners and doing stuff, partnering on things, but I don't necessarily like working over people because I'm very much hands-off, not micromanager. That's just not what I like doing. I like us. It's kind of like softball. Like you all have your roles, but it's a level playing field. That's what I like a lot. I'm trying to create an environment where we have that, like at my firm. And I love that you said that because that's how I feel. Like when I'm working with everybody, I feel like, okay, I have my role as the owner, but I'm not above anybody. I take my salary. They all work. And we all have mutual respect for everybody. And it doesn't matter where we are. That's why I don't want to use the word staff. Liz brought that out and she said, we don't use the word staff. We use team. And I never really thought of it because I use them interchangeably. Zachary, how do you refer? I mean, because internally, like we have our titles as staff accountant. Can we change that? I'm sure we can.
Yes,
but
you can change to whatever you want.
I know.
Yeah, no, we refer to it as team here.
Yeah, and that's, but and Zach, you're a great example of somebody who's taken a traditional firm and then slowly implemented changes over the last 10 years plus, right?
Yeah, that's right. And that's a really good point. It takes a lot of time if you're going to move a traditional firm to this way of thinking and moving in a different direction. You just have to do it one step at a time, little by little, and eventually you'll get there. And there were things that I had been trying to do, like switch to a fully web-based tax preparation software for years. And finally COVID hit, and that was the final straw that I finally got to move the firm over to a web-based tax preparation software. Like you just have to wait for certain things to happen and you take the opportunities as they come and you move it little by little. But you look at our firm today from where it was 6 or 7 years ago, and it's completely different. There's not a system that we use that's the same, other than maybe we have these folders that we use still for moving things across the office, and that is still in place. But other than that, everything's different. Everything's changed at our firm.
And probably for the better, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
For anybody still listening, how can they find you?
Tell them to find me on Twitter at Lorilyn Wilson. That's where I hang out. That's where all the cool accountant kids hang out and tweet about taxes and accounting software.
I might have to get on Twitter one day.
It's a fun group.
One day I'll enter the room. I want Twitter to be a paid subscription to get on there. Then I'll join it. I know I say that I almost say it as a joke, but I'm serious. I don't want the ads. I don't want all that tunnel stuff. I just want a paid Twitter.
I just want my curated feed.
Yeah, that's what I want. All right. I really appreciate both of you guys joining us. Zachary, thank you so much for being my co-host today.
Absolutely. And thank you, Lorilyn, for your wonderful insight. I have some notes and some takeaways. I'm going to create more balance. I'm not going to be afraid of change. I'm going to treat myself with respect and live my dream, shoot for the stars. That's my takeaway.
That is some hot girl energy is what that is.
That
all right?
is hot girl energy.
You have
I need
hot
that.
Summer coming up, and I love that. That's what you just have to
girls,
ask yourself. That's what you
Three
have to ask
girls, right?
yourself. What would the hot girl version of me be doing right now in this instance? And then you go do that thing.
Smart girls, not hot girls. Smart girls.
Hot girl's an energy. It's an energy. It's not just like you're good looking. It's you are all the cool things is what a hot girl is. So
You are all the cool things, hot
yes.
girl. Yes. Hit-
Yes. Yes.
Awesome.
It's an energy. It's an aura. Don't put this in it, but it's like big dick energy. Anyone can have big dick energy.
Don't put this
Same
in it, and
idea.
I'm gonna have to put it in now. That's what we'll end at. That's gonna be the beginning tagline: is big
Same
energy
idea,
with
though.
Lorilyn Wilson.
Do it. I think you should. It'll get more clicks.
That's what we're about, is the clicks.
Oh, man.
Clickbait.
Cool.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, thank you. You gentlemen have a good week and go, like I said, go do something a hot girl would do, okay?
Thanks.
We recorded your episode 2 months ago, I think. And since then, you've had some new developments, and I wanted to insert that in here because I want to hear about this, me personally. And I think others would too, because this is exciting. So tell us.
Yes. So I have partnered with High Rock Accounting. And if you aren't familiar with them, it's an accounting firm ran by Liz Mason out of Scottsdale, Arizona. And they are woman-owned, a very fast-growing firm. And she really wants to change the industry. She does not like these typical working 60 to 80 hours a week in these traditional firms, using bad technology, billable hours, yada, yada, yada. Because she came out of that environment and built her firm on modern technology, valuing client relationships, the work-life balance that you want, and basically built the formula for it. She now wants to help other CPAs who are stuck in that really toxic environment do it.
She was on our second episode, actually, 2.5
Yeah.
views. She's got that fire. Her vagina of amazingness is what she refers to it as.
Yes. Yeah. And so they built out a whole business for people wanting to start their own firm. But the thing is, starting your own firm is scary and it's hard. And where do you start? And you a lot of times have to let go, no safety net. And so they've built a model to account for all those things. So instead of going out on your own, you are still your own person, still your own company, but you are also folded into their team in terms of you get all the support from them, you get back office support, you get coaching.
Yeah, and let's talk about the value adds of being part of Nucleus. So let's say somebody is out there, they have their own firm. What is it about being alone versus being in Nucleus?
Yes, honestly, and to give back, like I've owned my own firm, I've done that. And the biggest value add is the time you save. Partnering with someone who's already done it and giving you the
shared
tool set to
resources.
fix
So
them.
part of it's shared resources.
Yes.
Mm.
There's marketing support, coaching support, practice management development support.
I mean, behind the curtain, I'm part of a franchise, and my
Yes.
biggest needs right now. So systems is what Paget helps provide for me.
Yes,
And
which are very important.
yeah,
Of
and
course.
systems, obviously, like, and for
Yeah.
anybody, it's not a one size fits all. There's also breakaway, and there's also, so just to hear about these things and for others to say, I want to be part of something bigger,
Mhm.
Nucleus is one of those.
Yeah, it's very much a collaborative environment because it is very lonely also going out on your own. And
So do
with
you call
this,
yourself High Rock now, or are you still PDX?
Oh, I am just Lorilyn Wilson. I am
You're just Lorilyn
I
Wilson?
have so
Okay.
many
No, that's cool.
I have many startups at this point. Anything that's moving the accounting industry forward, I want to be a part of. So
Yeah, you are heading the charge on that.
I stick my name on all those things.
That's cool. All right. So for anybody who needs to know more, we've got this link to Nucleus in the show notes, right on this.
Come check it out. Come say hi. And if you have any questions, you can always find me on Twitter
Find her on Twitter.
at Lorilyn Wilson.
I'll do that in the show notes too.
Okay.
Deuces. All right.
It's just poetic. Together at last. Big dick energy joined forces with her vagina. her big, but her big dick energy is, but her big dick energy, vagina of amazingness. Oh my God, I got to do this in like 12 takes. But her big dick energy is someone like Liz Mason. But her big dick energy, want to join her vagina of amazingness. This is going to be a really fun end of credits reel. Join forces in her vagina of I don't want to say her big dick energy is enough for Liz Mason to want to join her vagina of amazingness. I can't even say this without laughing.